There has been a lot of fuss about cattle grazing routes in Nigeria. What are the origins? Are they necessary? Are they legal? Are they the root cause of violence between herders and farmers? Are they the solution? Do they even exist? Last year, to better understand this issue within the context of armed violence in Nigeria, we visited the farmlands and cattle routes in Yobe and Adamawa State. So, let me explain. The Fulani, one of the largest ethnic groups in Nigeria, are primarily pastoralists who raise cattle, goats, and sheep. They have done this for many centuries across different countries in the Sahel. The animals are moved from place to place so they can feed on crops found on their path. But sometimes, their path cuts through farmlands and the crops are destroyed. This led to decades-long conflicts between these Fulani pastoralists and farmers and the loss of many lives on both sides. To put a stop to the conflict, the Northern Regional House of Assembly put a law in place. It mapped out grazing routes to guide the pastoralists, allowing their livestock to graze from one reserve to another without passing through residential areas and farms. But over the years, the lines between these routes and farms have slowly blurred, and there has been a resurgence in violence. Do these grazing routes exist? Yes. Known locally as Burtali, they were demarcated many years ago using objects of different shapes and sizes. Grazing route markings symbolize one of Nigeria's controversial approaches towards guiding the movement of nomadic herders. In places like Adamawa and Yobe, the routes are demarcated by painted drums or cement blocks. The demarcations created boundaries between farmers and herders, and because they were respected, they helped to prevent clashes between them. But the grazing routes and reserves are becoming redundant and problematic. Capitalism, population explosion, and the need for industries have caught up with the need to prevent conflict. Many parts of these routes have been sold or converted into farmlands or commercial establishments. This has in turn increased the tension between farmers and herders. Herders say they have no choice but to trespass because their cattle have nowhere else to pass, and farmers argue that old traditions should be left in the past. Buying up these lands is not the only problem. There is also climate change. Desert encroachment and drought lead to a reduction in fertile land, which means farmers and herders have to fight over fewer resources. Recently, President Muhammadu Buhari approved the review of grazing reserves with the goal of protecting the old ones and creating new ones. But experts say the damage may be irreversible. Some of those we talked to said the era of open grazing is over and herders should be encouraged to adopt some form of ranching. Ranching basically means having a large expanse of farmland to raise herd rather than grazing them while roaming. Look at it this way. Traveling with a herd for, let's say, 20 kilometers means that the herd is losing some weight. The grasses and crops they feed on along the way are used for walking rather than provision of milk or meat. Ranching can lead to a more sustainable and conflict-free way of raising cattle. But here's the twist. Most farmers don't have enough money to feed their herds, so they opt for grazing. They see the nomadic way of life as the core of their culture. Also, it doesn't help that the government has historically prioritized farming. Ranching is not the perfect solution too. Climate experts say the cutting down of trees to free up land contributes to the warming of our planet. Not only that, cattle burps and manure, which contain methane, add significantly to greenhouse gas emissions. So, as more lives, human and animal, are still lost to farmer-herder clashes and harsh environmental conditions. Nigeria needs to develop and execute creative solutions that all parties can agree to.